I know it just seems like one big run-on sentence, but it's actually a podcast. Here's what's coming up on The Nice Guys today.
There's a couple different ways. You could do it through sort of like the very standard crowdfunding campaign websites, so like a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo, where you could crowdfund everything from potato salad to exploding kittens or, the latest motorized cooler. But there's also a couple platforms that specialize in books, and I chose this platform called Publishizer. And what I liked about them is they're sort of like your virtual agent. So if you're able to get enough people to pre-order your book, then they actually query to publishers on your behalf. So I found it as a way to kind of short circuit that traditional system where I was able to put in the work, get enough pre-orders, and then lo and behold, a publisher reached out to me and said, "Hey, let's get your book on the table." So that's kind of the whole reason about why we ended up doing that. One of the things I quickly realized is you are responsible for 100% of your sales. You should expect exactly 0 purchases from people that you don't have any connection with. Basically expect 0 purchases from any sort of organic traffic, right? Unless if you're an extremely mainstream consumer product on Kickstarter. Otherwise, you stand absolutely no chance.
Excuse me, can I borrow your towel? My car just hit a water buffalo. Need an education on how to grow your business? The Nice Guys are here to help. Learn about great customer service, networking, and how just being nice can help you prosper. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Hey, Funkin' fans, welcome back. It is Monday. My name is Strickland Bonner. On the other side of the microphone, Mr. Doug Sandler. I don't know about you all, but I had a rough, crazy, busy weekend.
Well, I'm in San Diego right now, so I'm enjoying myself. Well,
and I'm on my way to Austin tomorrow, so we're just way too damn busy, apparently.
I love it, though. I love the whole, you should see my makeshift studio right now. I'm in I think this place is called Paradise Point. It is definitely a nice place to be hanging out. Beautiful, picturesque skyline, and they get to see over the water, and there's birds crapping everywhere. There are a lot of they don't have seagulls like this back east. All the seagulls here they're like the kind that you see on, what the hell was that movie? Not Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo. That's what it was.
But you're nowhere near the ocean, right? How do they have seagulls?
Isn't San Diego? Isn't that the ocean that I'm looking at?
San Diego. Gosh, I'm thinking Arizona again. Jeez, that was last week. Yeah, San Diego. No, you're right. You're good.
We are everywhere. These are the biggest freaking seagulls that you possibly ever wanted. And you know what comes along with big seagulls, don't you?
Big crap.
Huge. There's seagull crap everywhere. This is a problem in this city, I think. The other thing that I noticed as I was pulling away from taking how does the remote studio sound? Does it sound okay?
Oh, yes. Your throw pillows are deadening the room very nicely. Yes, we need to put a picture of that up on the
That's so
Facebook
hilarious.
site,
Hey, Nice Guy community, let me be the one to apologize. Friday, Strickland did an amazing job of editing the interview episode that I did. I did not discover that I actually forgot to hit the right button to get my the Yeti microphone. So what it sounds like in my ear that I'm on this Yeti microphone and sounding really good, I was actually recording through the little tiny internal microphone that was built into my laptop. So Strickland, how come you didn't call me and yell at me? You should have just said, "What the fuck are you doing, Sandler?"
Well, because I was editing at 11:30 on Thursday before the Friday episode published, and I knew you were asleep already. And that's why Doug's so sensitive right now. Why he's got his throw pillows everywhere to make sure that he doesn't sound like he's in a chamber somewhere.
Oh, so I'm leaving Friday. So right the day that the episode comes out with the botched sound, the botched microphone, thanks to me, thank you. And by the way, Strick, great job of editing. But no, you did. You really you covered in a spot where we only had Sean Carpenter was the only one that actually said to me, "Well, what the hell is going on here?" Is he the only one that noticed that there was a difference in sound quality? So this is Friday morning. I'm listening to this, and I quickly got onto Amazon thinking, I can't pack my Yeti microphone because it's a huge mic. So
it's big.
I said to Danielle, my wife, I said, I need Amazon Prime right now. I need same day delivery of a high quality but small USB microphone. And Amazon it's amazing. I ordered it. It was at 9:00 in the morning. By noon, I had a new microphone in my hand. They knocked on the door.
It's the best. It's so crazy, though. I love it.
I do love it. Okay, so we actually have an interview. Yeah,
today.
I know we do. We have an interview today, Jimmy Hite. But before we do the interview with Jimmy Hite, let me just give you a little quick update. Paul Morena and Sean Carpenter and a bunch of the gang, the Nice Guy community, Funkin' fans, as great as you are, they rallied behind us. Sean, I think, went back and posted the last 70 or recommended the last 70 episodes because he sent me a screenshot of the misnumbering. God, we were totally fucked up last week.
I know, we're a mess.
We're trying not to be a mess. We are like we're like Cirque du Soleil without training. So I'm the guy on the unicycle with spinning plates right now, and Strickland is the guy. What are you? Which role do you want to play, Strick?
Geez, I don't know. I have no idea.
You're so out of it. You're like tapped to the nth degree.
I am just lost.
So Sean, I happened to notice that there was a number of non-stars that Sean that he was remiss in recommending the episodes. And I think he's a batch recommender. I don't think that he does it as he go along. I like to do it every day. So he went back and redid the last probably, 20, 30, 40, 70 episodes, whatever it was. And I noticed that we are now back again in the top 10. So because of that, it's obvious and apparent to me that there must be others that are probably in the same position as Sean. And Nice Guy community, you don't realize how important this is to us. And if we are delivering, I'm thinking valuable content. You are top of mind every day, every minute, every second for us. Could you just do us a favor? Please take a moment, just recommend the episodes. It really does not take away from your listening experience at all. We don't say that anything that important anyway. You can take a moment and just do it before the interview. So about the interview, and the way to do that, right next to the play button, there's a little star button. Just go ahead and hit that, illuminate that star. And that will be how you recommend us. Go back as many episodes as you possibly can. That is enough of the housekeeping. Jimmy Hite. So I was introduced by Jimmy, our interview today, by our executive producer Mar on the show. Mm-hmm. And what was so great about Jimmy is that he's got this book called Jack and Coke, which I thought was a very catchy title to begin with.
Yeah, two things very near and dear to my heart.
and my wife too. Do you know that Danielle was actually named after Jack Daniels?
Mm-hmm. Jacqueline Danielle.
Jacqueline Danielle, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, so Jack and Coke is the name of his book, of his novel, and he put it up on a site called Publishizer. And it is the most funded literary fiction novel that Publishizer has had on their website. And I thought that was pretty cool that number one, was that me texting you, Strickland?
Apparently, I don't know. Apparently, I have new activity in my shared notebook. You updated something in OneNote, apparently.
Oh, that was no, I think you did it. I
wouldn't have gotten notified if I did it.
No, I don't know how that works. Anyway, so I was chatting with Jimmy and discovering that he's got this entire system, this really cool system that he is sharing with the Nice Guy community, free, completely free. So all you need to do is listen to the episode about 3/4 of the way in, or maybe halfway, or maybe right at the beginning. I'm not actually going to tell you. He shares how to get a hold of the secrets to building a list, a lot of scripts that you can use through email to build your list and to crowdsource and to crowdfund, and also a lot of the stats, how to get more stats, how to understand the stats, how to read the stats. And you can have access to all of Jimmy's secrets by just going to the link that he is going to mention. And I'll just give you a little hint. It's in the show notes. And while you're in the show notes, could you just do us a favor and recommend the episode?
Recommend us, please. If you're on Overcast, which we know 95% of you are.
Great interview. Really interesting contradiction in the things that Jimmy does for a living. He's a data analyst. I thought you would like that, Strick. He's definitely a data guy. He is a podcaster, very similar to you. He actually has 2 podcasts. One of them is called Hadooponomics. Hadooponomics. Okay. And he's an author. He's a novelist. So those 3 things, and there is definitely a fine line that he weaves in between all of the things that he does. Kind of like you, Strickland. He's everywhere. He's all over the place, and he's loving life.
Excellent.
I don't think this morning you weren't loving life.
No.
Are you okay now?
I'm getting there. It's all good.
Slowly but surely. I'm
a professional. It's okay.
Trying to dig you out of it. To dig you out of it. All right. So anyway, let's get to the interview with Jimmy. Do you have anything else to say, or you've been very quiet.
No, let's get to the interview. I think we've talked long enough.
All right, here's the interview, Jimmy Hite on the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Intrigue, backstabbing, betrayal. It sounds like just another day here on The Nice Guys. Actually, this is just a taste into the novel that Jimmy Hite called Jack and Coke has created. It's about a young idealistic guy named Jack Ranger. It sounds pretty cool. And while the book is amazing from some of the things I'm reading about it, soon to be released, Jimmy's story is even better. So we are here to welcome Jimmy Hite to the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Welcome, Jimmy.
Hey, thank you. It's good to be here.
I am, now listen, you promised to deliver, you said it, this is going to be the best episode I've ever done. I'm not putting words in your mouth, am I? Or maybe I said that. Did you say that or did I say it?
Slightly, but I'm on board for it.
You're ready to go. So you connected to us, to the Nice Guys, through our executive producer, Mar. And any idea why, Jimmy? Because, she put your career potentially in peril right now.
Well, I'm not entirely sure, other than we've worked together across a couple different platforms, so clearly she thinks at least enough of you guys that I might not be jeopardizing my career.
She was either thinking enough of us, or she was thinking that you'll straighten us out one way or the other. I wasn't 100% sure. Hey, so share a little bit. I was reading a little bit about your story through Publishizer and some other avenues, and reading a little bit of the excerpts of your book. It's pretty cool. So why don't you share a little bit about your story, and including some of the amazing stats, including the most funded literary fiction novel of all time on Publishizer? I mean, that's pretty big shit. Tell us about it.
Sure. Yeah, I can. I'll tell you a little bit about that sort of process and stuff, and maybe we can dive into how we ended up there. But long story short, so I'm a number of things right now. I'm a graduate student and been an analyst and run some companies and podcasts and all that sort of stuff. But right now I'm experimenting with this whole being an author thing, which is like totally crazy. But
yeah, totally.
But sort of had this story in me to, I think the only way to describe it, right, is like I felt like I wouldn't be a complete human unless if I wrote this story. So I took a stab at it. Took way longer than I ever thought it would. But in a nutshell, it's the story about this idealistic investigative journalist, and he tries to expose the truth about this political system that is fundamentally corrupt. And what he runs into is this idea that, the system is designed to keep itself in power. So as a result, he runs into some backstabbing, some betrayal, some all sorts of tough stuff that he runs into in his sort of pursuit of the truth. So there's a whole lot of other things wrapped into that I think your audience would like. But in a nutshell, that's the story of Jack Ranger. And I think it's pretty fun. And it took a long time to tell, but I am beyond excited to finally have this thing almost be on bookshelves.
When I originally saw the pitch that Mar made to me, and then you and I had done some discussion through, I forget if it was email or Twitter or where we were, and I was thinking, we haven't had anybody that's brought a novel onto the Nice Guys podcast. And, what really interested me was not necessarily the book itself, although the book itself, it seems like it's going to be really cool when it comes out. But it was more on how you did what you did, because I think the basis of everything that everybody that comes on the show is, let's talk a little bit about some practical steps that our community can use to better themselves and to better their business. So although the novel is something I want to dive into a little bit more, I want to talk about the process that you went through in order to get there. And you use crowdfunding to do it. It seems like crowdfunding is easy to do, but also can be really challenging. So can you just talk about how crowdfunding has really helped you, other than just I need money, help me? I mean, there's definitely a bigger process than crowdfunding than that, though, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, when you said crowdfunding seems like it could be easy, I don't disagree. It does seem like that, but it is damn near impossible. Oh my God, that was a learning curve in itself. So I think there's a lot of elements to crowdfunding that are very entrepreneurial, very much self-starter and internet marketing, all combined into one that I think your audience will really enjoy. So whether they want to crowdfund or not crowdfund, I think there's a lot of parallel skills. But I'll start with telling you just why I chose to crowdfund. And that's because anyone who's ever tried to publish a book knows that it totally sucks, right? You write like 100 letters to agents and get told no 99 times. And then maybe one says yes. And then you write 1,000 query letters to publishers through your agent, and then everyone tells you no, and then 5 years later you don't have a book yet. So,
yeah. Hey, I think you know my experience then. With the exception of that length of time, yeah, it was very similar to that. It's like, oh my gosh, do I have to get one more no or one more rejection letter, and then finally, fuck it, I'm just going to do this on my own. And that's not ended up. Then I ended up getting a call from a publisher. So that's always an interesting part. But I love where you're heading. So you decided to take an alternate route to getting your book published.
Right. Yeah. And so there's a couple different ways you could do it through sort of like the very standard crowdfunding campaign websites. So like a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo, where you could crowdfund everything from potato salad to exploding kittens, or, the latest motorized cooler. But there's also a couple platforms that specialize in books. And I chose this platform called Publishizer. And what I liked about them is they're sort of like your virtual agent. So if you're able to get enough people to pre-order your book, then they actually query to publishers on your behalf. So I found it as a way to kind of short circuit that traditional system where I was able to put in the work, get enough pre-orders, and then lo and behold, a publisher reached out to me and said, "Hey, let's get your book on the table." So that's kind of the whole reason about why we ended up doing that.
It sounds like a really cool way to be able to publish your book, but it does leave me a little bit cold for one reason, because while crowdfunding is certainly a great resource to use, the issue with crowdfunding is that you still need to have the list. You still need to campaign. You still need to, you can put it up on their site, but nobody could come to it also. So how did you then, what was the next step after you said, all right, well, I like Publishizer. I think we're going to use those. But what's the next step after you decided that you were going to use them to crowdfund for you?
Yeah, you bring up an awesome point, because one of the things I quickly realized is like, you are responsible for 100% of your sales. You should expect exactly 0 purchases from people that you don't have any connection with. Right. Basically expect 0 purchases from any sort of organic traffic, right? Unless if you're an extremely mainstream consumer product on Kickstarter. Otherwise, you stand absolutely no chance. So the first step was, 1, realizing that, and then 2, trying to figure out how other authors had been successful in crowdfunding, and then basically laying out a strategy to collect as many pre-orders as possible to build as much buzz as possible. And then once I figured out what the steps were, how other people were successful, I made an action plan and executed. And we can go through exactly what that was, but that's the high level.
No, the high level is great, and I appreciate you sharing that. Help me just for a second with this whole building the list, because I think part of it is the list building portion. You're right. If the expectation is people that don't know you are going to buy your book, you're absolutely fucked up. It's not going to happen. You need to build a list, and you need to make it happen. And so you used a tool. Help me. What tool did you use in order to get people to at least be attracted to the message or the book or the idea that you have something that's going to be coming out?
Yeah. So the underlying tool is MailChimp. And if anyone in your audience doesn't use MailChimp, they totally should, because it's mostly free and amazing. But really, so I started with an email list of 0. Which is, pretty bad in terms of trying to sell stuff.
No, it's pretty much where we all start. I think I started at 0 also. So how did you start? So you started at 0. So how did you even begin to put those first names? I mean, just make the target and friends, family, people that you know.
So a little more nuanced than that. But what I did is I built a website for the book, right? So I had like a jimmyhite.com, and basically I just put like an email capture up there with, maybe 3 sentences, like sign up for my launch list and you can get early access to my book. Right. So I put that together, and then it was literally making a list of all the social networks that I'm a part of. And by that, I mean like professional contacts, graduate school friends, undergraduate friends, high school friends, people who I play, like tennis with, all those sort of things, right? Like every single association I ever had. And then identifying how I would reach out to them. What's the correct medium? Is it email? Is it LinkedIn? Is it making a Facebook post? What's the right medium? And then once I figured that out, funneling every single one of those people to that sign up page. And that's how I got started.
So check this out, Nice Guy community. Jimmy, before I hit the record button, had explained to me, he said, listen, I've done a whole bunch of stuff that I created this wheel, And this wheel is like the secrets of how to build your list. It's your email scripts, it's the stats, it's everything that's involved. And I said to Jimmy, that would be great to be able to have access to that. And Jimmy came back to me immediately and he said, hey, listen, I hope you don't mind. I would like to be able to give these away to you. So we are going to make all of these things available. How to build your MailChimp list from zero. Tell me what's in this link, because when I heard it, I'm like, shit, this sounds pretty cool. This is something that I want to take a look at and check out as well. So what is in that link?
Yeah. So what I was thinking about is we'll do jimmyheight.com/nice for, obviously the nice guys, right? And
right. Thank you.
What I've included is basically my nurture campaign. So I built when you crowdfund, I think the most important thing is having this VIP list of early backers who will be with you through whatever. And so I have a VIP list nurture campaign of how I grew this list and how I got them from being subscribers to buyers. And then I also have the exact Facebook and LinkedIn posts that I made that put people from Facebook friends into VIP list subscribers into buyers, from LinkedIn professional connections into buyers. So I have sort of just the scripts I had, and they worked pretty well for me, and I figured they could help other people. So you feel free to download them, read them, change them, use them however you want, and hopefully it brings success to your audience as well.
No, that's great. What a great thing. Now, Nice Guy Community, this is something that Jimmy is providing to us, as a gift. He's not charging us for it, and I think that is exceptional. It probably just goes to show the kind of character that you are. And again, my trying to figure out then why are you on this show and why did you want to come here makes it very challenging, because it's totally not what we're all about. No, I'm just messing with you. So Jimmy, let me just go through a couple of these things, because it's very interesting. And we talked about this a little bit as we were chatting before I got you on the show. But one of the things is you're a data analyst as a full-time gig. You're this fiction novel writer on this other side, and you're a podcaster as well, with a couple of podcast seasons under your belt with a couple of different shows. I mean, what are the parallels how did you, those things don't normally fit together. What's it all about? And what's it? I'm probably missing something under the hood here a little bit. What am I missing?
I'm currently in graduate school as well. So that's
and okay. All right, great. So no, but that kind of fits in with the analyst side of you. The nerd tells me that you're going to be a forever student, and as an analyst and the graduate student, that fits together. But then you have podcasting and novel writer also. So again, help me with it. There's got to be something that I'm missing, something that's pretty cool in your life that you're trying to share some story. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, right? So part of what I love to do, and I'm sure a lot of your audience feels the same way, is I love thinking about the future. I love understanding how technology and people will interact in the future and where that's going to lead us. So one of the mediums that I love doing that through is through storytelling. And it just so happens that as a big data analyst, right, I'm constantly looking at the future, because that's just the way that the world is going, right? Everything's being digitized. Big data is the key to so many of our future problems. And so as I was analyzing that, I couldn't help but think about the future. And so podcasting served this dual purpose of, one, being able to tell stories and talk to really interesting people about the future, but it's also tied into my job as a data analyst. So it also builds a conversation, builds a community around that as well. So that's there's a nice symbiotic relationship there. So when you look under the hood, you can kind of see why I did that. And then the novel thing is, I think I alluded to at the beginning, but any of your audience who's a writer, I think the only way to describe it is it's like you didn't write a book because you wanted to, you wrote the book because you were compulsed to, right? So I just don't think I could have done anything else besides write it eventually. And in the novel, there's a lot of parallels. We're talking about the future and technology and where I think society is going and all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of a natural extension of my love for storytelling in the future. It just so happened to take the form of a novel.
What's great is that most analysts, if you were to analyze most analysts and check under their hood a little bit, you would find that they're content, many of them, with a cubicle life, and you totally don't fit into that mold in some respects, but in other respects, you probably enjoy the quiet comfort of your numbers and your big data.
I do love numbers and all that sort of stuff, but I would much rather be surrounded by people all day, every day, and sort of talk about the implications of the numbers.
Yeah. So tell me, in the book, is there any parallels between the book and your real life?
Yeah, there are actually. So I think the most important thing is I had this idea that I want to start this crowdfunded investigative journalist company because I thought that the world needs it, right? I think, there's a whole lot of issues around how we perceive the truth and how we hold institutions accountable and all that sort of stuff. But to tell you the truth, and this goes back to that nerd side, I was way too scared to start it, right? Like, I don't want death threats. I don't want to. Right. So I wrote the book, and that's the vehicle. And I actually have like the business plan and the pitch deck inside the book, and like lay out how I would try and get investors to buy into it and all that sort of stuff. And so I include that in the book because I want someone to read this book and then decide that they want to start this company, and I want to give them the tools to do that.
Hey, if you want to be totally geeked out, all you need to do is listen to either one of the two podcasts that Jimmy has put together in his past. One is called Hadooponomics? How do you say that? Hadooponomics?
It's Hadooponomics.
Hadooponomics, and the other is called Emerging Tech Roundup. That's a little bit easier to pronounce.
Yeah.
So,
there's a big data technology that was emerging at the time when we started the show called Hadoop, and then being someone who studied econ and loves Freakonomics, I just kind of combined the two.
No, man. So it's a couple of good seasons of those, and you can catch those right on iTunes. We'll make sure that we at least put the names in our show notes so that you guys can go out and check it out. Hadooponomics and Emerging Tech Roundup. I'm probably sure I'm butchering that name. So
as long as you can spell it and you don't have to pronounce it, it's all good.
Yeah, Hadoop. That's pretty easy. Hadooponomics. But I'll put the link in the show notes, or at least the name in the show notes, so that you guys have it. So if our nice guy community wanted to get a hold of your book and they wanted to find out more about how to get your book when it does come out, when do you expect it to come out, Jimmy?
Yeah, so I should have books in hand right before Christmas, and then I'll be able to sell those through some mediums. But then in June of 2018, it'll be in bookstores.
Jimmy, I could be dead by then. I'm not even sure. Maybe we should have some. Is there anything earlier that we can get a hold of? I mean, we can get it directly from you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys can get directly from me. If you follow that link, the jimmyhite.com/nice, I'll also have information for that. So you guys can subscribe, and I can keep you up to date about that book coming out.
That'll totally be great. So what is the name of the book going to be? Jack and Coke?
Yeah, the book's called Jack and Coke.
That is amazing. Who helped you come up with the title?
I'm not really sure. It was so long ago that I came up with it, but it has a lot of fun meanings, and then also a lot of fun things that it lets me do with it. The main character is Jack, and there's obviously this sort of cocaine scandal, right? So I called it Jack and Coke. But one of the things I did when I had people review my book in the early stages, and I had two rules. I said, hey, you got to give me honest feedback, and rule number 2 was, this honest feedback has to be while drinking whiskey at a bar. So I would just bring out the people who read the book, and we'd get Jack and Cokes, and that's how the book was written.
Oh, what a great idea! So you had you crowdsourced the title as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think pro tip: if you want honest feedback from people, just pump them full of a little Jack Daniels.
Put some liquor. Hey, you know what? Strickland does that. My co-host does that all the time, and we never ask his opinion. But he does like to drink anyway. Hey, so tell me about the success of the book. Are these numbers fair numbers to share? How much money you raised? How many supporters that you have? Anything like that?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely fair to share. I'm trying to be super transparent. I'm hopefully going to put out some blogs and stuff about the exact numbers, because when I was trying to do this, there was no numbers. Like, no one wanted to share any data, so I just figured I'd put it all out there. But the book exceeded my expectations. It was great. I think we got like 334 people to pre-order it before it ever reached their was ever a real thing, which I thought was pretty cool. And also cool because, like I said, I started with an email list of 0 people, and I'm fairly unknown. Before this podcast, I was fairly unknown, but now I'll be a international sensation.
It's out the window now.
Yeah.
All right, so share. So 300 and some odd people. That's really cool. That's great. Most people don't even sell 300 and some odd books in their entire time that they've had a book, either on Amazon. Oh, that's another question. Did you give Amazon the big fuck you, or are you going to carry it through Amazon?
I think it'll be on Amazon eventually. Not initially, but I think probably in the second wave.
Nice. And how about dollar-wise? Again, are you okay to share those numbers?
Yeah, we raised about it's like $6,500, which is pretty cool because if you want to self-publish your book, you got to essentially spend that much money on editing, formatting, printing, all that sort of stuff. So it allowed me to directly work with a publisher and then fund all these sort of add-on expenses to get them, a really awesome book.
Yeah, it's amazing the different costs that you have between, even before it goes to print. I mean, printing alone is an expense, but then you have the marketing and publishing and all the other side, the PR work that has to be done on the post side. But on the pre side, you have all of the editing, the design, the layout, everything that is involved with the book, just putting everything together. So $6,500, even that sometimes is not enough to put together a good book.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that people underestimate with the sort of the economics of how book sales and printing and how royalties work and all that sort of stuff, like, you don't really get, unless you're Stephen King, you don't really get rich off of writing the books, right? They cost a lot and you don't really make much money on a per unit basis. So it's like that sort of $6,500 goes a long way.
Well, I've said this a number of times, and maybe you can debunk the myth or prove it correct. I always say that putting together a book is about 20% writing, 80% marketing. Do you feel the same way? I don't mean to take anything away from your writing talents at all, but where are you finding the challenges, in the writing, or do you think it's going to be in the marketing of the book when it comes out?
Well, so I think you're right, and I'm about to embark fully on this marketing thing. But if 20%, if I spent like 3 years writing this book, and if that's 20% of the effort, man, I don't know if I'm going to survive. But
well, I'll tell you, if you start to put together or line up the pros on the marketing side, you're definitely a talented writer. Just in looking at even the excerpts that you put on your crowdfunding page, you know how to write. So the challenge is that you probably wrote, rewrote, and rewrote again. I mean, literally, when my book came out, I'm like, I'm doing one edit on this motherfucker, and I'm not doing it again. I can't go through this process, and I still feel like I put out a book that was good, and then when it actually came out, it was the marketing of it. I'm like, holy shit, I cannot imagine having to work. I worked for probably 2 years before my book came out just on building my social media profile. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you've already done. I look at your Twitter following and all the information that you have on social, and it looks like you're doing a great job with all of that stuff as well. The challenge is actually just now following through and doing all the marketing when the book comes out and following up with all those people that are in your social following too.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And now that I've sort of switched phases from, writing and editing to let's get this thing in as many people's hands as possible, I have come to understand just how big a task that is. So there's a lot of work to be done.
While marketing is important, the heavy lifting is definitely, and I'm not taking anything away or diminishing any of the quality of your writing at all. The heavy lifting you have done by writing the book, the details are in the what comes next. Now you just have to write another book all over again, except it's going to be a book about marketing, and you'll be able to have a nice guy's link that you're going to be able to share with us about. Here are all the secrets that I did when I went to marketing, because I think that your brain just works in, what's my workaround? How do I make this happen? How do I create a system, and how do I put this out there? I want you to come back on the show when the book comes out and share the secrets to how do you market this book, not just how to build the list. Are you cool with that?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it. Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on the show. You have just one quick second for just one more, a very important question for our Nice Guy community?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Is your phone anywhere near you?
It can be.
Well, it doesn't have to be. I mean, you probably know the answer to this question. Do you have an iPhone or something inferior?
I have an iPhone.
Oh, good. I just making sure. I know because you have a PC. I wasn't sure if you were an iPhone lover at all. Are you going to get the new iPhone 10 that's coming out, or is that like just a piece of bullshit right now?
Oh my God! One day.
One day. Well, maybe we'll crowdfund the iPhone 10.
Yeah,
it has facial recognition. The question is, will it have it so that Jack Ranger can actually be recognized by the phone itself? Secretly, are you Jack Ranger?
Oh yeah, definitely not. This guy is way more courageous than I am. Like he's like suave, he's smooth, he gets stuff done. Like this guy is, maybe I wish I was a little bit more like him.
Well, I'm sure that there are many traits that you have that Jack Granger has as well. Thanks for putting the book together. Thanks for being on the show. I'm excited for the book to come out and read it and read your story a little bit more, Jimmy.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, our pleasure. Nice guy community. Never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Jimmy Hite for being on the show today. We'll make sure we put all of his information and links to his freebies for the nice guy community right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the nice guys on business, I'm Steve O'Brien. And may the force be with them. They need all the help they can get.